All right, everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues, episode 84. Bernie Sanders is going to Castleton. You know, I went to Castleton College when it was Castleton College, State College. Now it's Castleton State University, which is, it's not exactly UVM size, but they're expanding. They're doing pretty well. He's going there to lecture on free college, college for everybody. Nobody should have to pay tuition. It should be free, free, free. You see, there are a host of problems with that. And first and foremost, in case any college grads show up, and they're like, well, I've got a bunch of student debt, and how dare you stand in the way of me getting debt relief? It's not an issue of that. I'm just saying that nothing's free. The government doesn't magically create money like Bernie Sanders and all other far leftists think that it does. Socialists, that is. Maybe not the average, sane neoliberal, fiscally at least. Very dishonest at times, but more fiscally sane on some things, at the very least. Even Clinton understood this. Now, the government's not capable of doing that. I've got plenty of student debt. So anyone saying, well, you know, you've made it, so you don't know what it's like. Well, I actually did go to college. I dropped out to become an author, an editor, and a YouTuber. And by the way, that was an awesome decision. Like, I'm glad that I did. That I went to UVM as well as Castleton State. And I have plenty of debt, and so I understand what I'm talking about. The debt payments can be very onerous. They can be a huge burden. Anyone who's gone to college understands this, unless they got like 100% coverage of everything. Like at Castleton, oddly, because I was commuting to the kids, so I didn't need rooms or a high-level meal plan or anything. I had almost no debt when I went to Castleton. Merit Aid took care of, I think, more than half the tuition cost, and the rest was taken care of by need-based grants. So I had almost no debt. Now, when I was at UVM, of course, I got screwed over. But Sanders is promising you something he can't deliver. I hope that you understand that if we were going to try to pay for free college for all, which means taxpayer money in one form or another, we would have to defer that cost by cutting a bunch of other bullshit out of the federal budget. Now, I'm not opposed to this any more than I am, by the way, doing the same for single payer. If we wanted to move to, we want single payer in college for everyone, let's slash and burn, let's get rid of the IRS, let's get rid of the NSA, let's get rid of the EPA, let's get rid of the Department of Education, let's get rid of the CIA. Yeah, I'm all for that. Go ahead and axe all of these bureaus completely or consolidate them, downsize them, whatever you think you have to do to make up the difference. But if you actually institute these programs and you begin raising taxes to pay for them, can you say there won't be a fucking job left in the United States? Right now, U.S. businesses pay enormous amounts of business tax, unless they're multinationals, in which case they pay absolutely nothing. Therein lies one of your problems. If you have tax reform, you can probably make up half the difference, and you probably could give, at the very least, you'd give huge amounts of tuition benefits to people. But the problem is this. Here's the problem with half-assing it. If you were to just design like a really heavy government grant, like you're like, well, we can't pay for free college for all, but we can pay for like 50% of the cost of a person's overall debt load. Like if they graduate and they're doing fairly well, we'll like cut their debt in half or something. Those colleges will do what they've been doing for decades and raise their cost accordingly, because now they know, well, because for them it's all about risk versus reward. Ultimately, if somebody goes in and signs up for a college, they admit them, they're making a bet that that person is likely to succeed. This is how a college looks at it. What would end up happening if you're just giving grants or some sort of assistance is the college says, well, this lowers our overall risk because we're getting a lot of this grant up front. Because the risk is so much lower now, we can go invest that in something else. So it never gets to the students. It's almost like trickle-down economics, only for the educational system when you think about it. What they end up doing is they build another stadium and raise the tuition rate accordingly, so the student still pays the same bullshit amount. It's just a higher overall total before the aid kicks in, because now everyone's guaranteed that new aid. Now, if you had college for all, so that state and community colleges were just free, so that anyone could go to them, What it would mean probably is that eventually having an associate's or bachelor's degree would be fucking meaningless. You'd need one to go work at McDonald's. Australia, I believe, has this problem. I think they experimented with something roughly similar. And the population doesn't ultimately grow that much more literate, because a lot of the reason why some people don't go to college is because they're too dumb to go to college. No offense, some people, they just choose not to go, or they wanted to take technical training, or they wanted like a certificate course. That doesn't make you dumb, by the way, if you went down that route. Like, I didn't graduate, so I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here. But some people simply don't have the grades necessary to actually get into even a lower level state college. Well, if you start saying, well, it doesn't matter what your fucking grades are because, you know, the government's paying for it, we can't discriminate, everyone who wants to come in has to have a spot somewhere, yeah, you're going to have a little bit of a problem paying for that now, aren't you? Now, how do you intend to do that? Because the same Democrats that always propose this, single payer, college for all, whatever it happens to be, they're like, whenever somebody else wants to cut some program, no, it's a sacred cow, we can't cut this one, we need it. They've even begun doing that for the military. Now they won't cut that either. Oh, no, Trump is going to decapitate our military capabilities. We must, America #1, we must have a strong Navy, a strong Air Force. You know, maybe we should cut a little bit of the budget, but we're not sure where because we need all of these programs. It's a false need. Most of what the federal government does is not necessary. The EPA does not need to exist to ensure the function of this country. The Department of Education is bullshit. They don't need to exist. There doesn't need, technically speaking, to be an NSA. There doesn't need, technically speaking, to be an IRS. At the very least, these programs could be severely reduced, severely streamlined, probably compacted. You could save hundreds of billions a year. Yeah, you could have free college. You might run into logistic error problems down the road when everyone has a degree regardless of their actual aptitude. You know, you get a participation trophy piece of paper or something, like you would get in Oceania, parts of Western Europe. Beyond that, yeah, you can pay for it. But then again, these people also want single payer. Okay, how are you going to pay for both of these? Now we're probably talking about military spending cuts, probably beyond just reducing the cost of those $100 toilet lids in your submarines. And I think you're going to have to gouge a little bit more deeply than that. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure that you'll get all the veteran votes. What about the VA? I found it funny, by the way, as an aside, that the Democrats want to go after Trump on the VA issue. I want to say Trump doesn't like veterans, and yet Trump was early and often calling for investigating the VA and has actually taken a few steps towards doing that. The VA, by the way, is technically speaking single-payer style. Yeah, let's switch to that system. The VA is so wonderful. Let's put the whole population on it. Hey, welfare is so wonderful. Let's just have the whole population on welfare so nobody can get a fucking head anywhere. They all get a participation trophy degree and we'll just pay for everything. Like, they won't have money as we understand it now. The government takes it all and they just produce. Oh, wait, you know, I think they tried something roughly akin to this in certain communist regimes throughout time. Oh, was it Pol Pot's Cambodia? Yeah. Oh, only will be less rural. You see, the problem is then the urban versus rural dynamic ensures that the system begins breaking down because someone's getting screwed, blued, and tattooed. Have fun paying for your fucking college for all, Bernie. And by the way, when all of us, when my generation gets left behind again by the socialists, if you succeed at implementing this, because you'd be given free college to all the newcomers, you're not going to do anything about our own college debt. You won't touch it. We know this. Obama wouldn't touch it. Trump probably won't touch it. Bernie Sanders wouldn't touch it either. None of you will. You're all cowards when it comes to this issue. Not one penny of debt relief is going to be given to people who've already been screwed over by the for-profit college system. There are so many possible ways to solve the issue that don't involve more interventionism, that don't involve outright socialism. But they're just, they're too dumb to realize this, so screw them. That's about all. Peace out.